Folks, this is what happens after, I would say, 2 elections with the blinders off. We've had more and more people, I'll say it, getting woke. They're waking up to the threat represented by the right wing. That means people are getting put into office that give a damn. And that also means people who have been in office for a while were badgered by their constituents during the election, had to adapt or had to adopt stances that changed with the times to get reelected from constituents that are sick to death of us just doing nothing, giving passes, inexplicably being courteous to people that would see us dead if they could. And at many times have tried, depending on who you are. They've tried. We're sick of it. And the representatives of this country are starting, by God, to take the people who, again, I stress, would kill us if given the opportunity. They're starting to take them seriously. And they're starting to actually do the previously unimaginable step of applying the rules to them. Just applying the rules. The rules that were rigorously applied to Democrats constantly, but Democrats, for some reason, were terrified of ever applying to the other side. Well, that's no longer the case in Oregon. Oregon lawmakers who participated in 2023 legislative walkout officially banned from re-election. Lawmakers who participated in the legislative walkout this year will not be able to file to run for re-election in 2024. Secretary of State LaVon Griffin Valade announced Tuesday. 10 lawmakers accumulated more than 10 unexcused absences during the 2023 legislative session, triggering for the first time the voter-approved Measure 113. The measure passed in November, following several years of frustration with legislative walkouts. Republicans in Oregon have walked out 7 times since 2019. Folks, 7 times in 4 years. Halting all legislative work due to the state's unique 2/3 quorum rule. 2023 walkout. During 2023's legislative session, the lawmakers walked out in protest over bills surrounding gun control, abortion, and gender-affirming care. 9 Oregon lawmakers and 1 independent lawmaker halted work in the building for 6 weeks before reaching a deal with Democrats and ending the longest walkout in state history just days before the session was set to end. During the walkout, the Republican leadership said they plan to challenge Measure 113 in court. On the last day of the legislative session, Senate Republican leader Tim Knopp, a Republican from from Bend, asked Senate President Rob Wagner to retroactively excuse the absences. Don't keep reading. 1 second. Any Democrat from any era before now would have said, "Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir." Would have fallen to his knees and kissed the feet of the Republican who had just given him an order. Who had just said, "Now I know you're the leader, but I'm a Republican, and I know we had unexcused absences, but you're going to excuse them." The Democrat would have fallen to his bed, not his knees. I'm sorry, that's crude of me. It's inaccurate of me, really. He would have fallen to his belly and crawled on his elbows, and with tears streaming down his face, kissed the feet of the Republican and said, "Of course, my liege. Of course." That's what would have happened. But y'all don't put up with that anymore. So now this is what happened. Wagner declined to answer the request on the floor. Not exactly brave. But later told reporters it was a request he had already denied. Republicans knew the consequences, he said, having for the first time in his goddamn life discovered a backbone. Secretary's interpretation: the Constitution now reads that 10 or more absences shall disqualify the members from holding office as a senator or representative for the term following the election after the member's current term is completed. In other words, they're not even banned for life. They just refused to do their job, so they get a timeout. And all the hollering you hear, all the whining you hear about this from who knows where, that is going to be people, I just want you to remember, that is going to be people whining about a timeout. Some have urged that the language of the measure could be interpreted to allow lawmakers to serve an additional term after accumulating the absences and then be barred for the term after that. Griffin Valade, in her announcement, I hope I'm saying that correctly, formally disagreed with that interpretation. It's clear voters intended Measure 113 to disqualify legislators from running for re-election if they had 10 or more unexcused absences in a legislative session, Griffin Valade said in her statement. My decision honors the voters' intent by enforcing the measure the way it was commonly understood when Oregonians added it to our state constitution. Boom. There it is.